Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Higher or Lower, the show brought to you by oddschecker, SpreadX and Sporting Index as we look ahead to the weekend's football in the Championship and the Premier League and decide if we think the eventualities will be higher or lower than the midpoints in the markets by SpreadX and Sporting Index. I'm your host, George Elek. I'm delighted to be joined for one of the last, we're getting towards the end of the season now. We're in the business end.
It is the business end.
And this is Jack Wright to my left and Dan Worth to my right. Dan, big weekend for you last weekend.
Huge.
You ran the London Marathon.
I did, yeah.
Higher or lower than 4 hours?
Just lower.
Oh, where's the paddle?
Oh.
Nice. And it was your birthday on Saturday?
It was, yeah. Beer's also lower on my birthday because of the marathon. So that's a bit of a shame.
Surely it was a low line.
Yeah, true,
Trainers aren't putting you in for like 5.5 for the marathon the next day.
I don't know. It
Although,
depends
did you
how
see
well
the guy that drank a wine at every mile?
Yeah, that's top quality.
Next year?
Yeah, I'm up for it. I'm actually up for it.
What did you get for your birthday?
I got tickets to go to Aston Gate, not to watch Bristol, but to watch Kings of Leon, which I'm very happy
Can't
about.
call them Bristol.
Sorry, yeah, I made that mistake once before.
You
Bristol
can't do that.
City.
And how did your girlfriend give you the...
4 clues.
Yeah.
Yeah, of which lower guesses, lower clues
one was
needed.
A bucket.
One was a bucket.
Is that because you're 18, balding, and a star?
That's quite good, isn't it?
Thank you very much. Right, let's get into the... you're none of those things. Actually, you're a star. It's fine.
Thank you.
Let's get into the football this weekend, looking at SpreadX's market. First up, in the Championship, we've got QPR hosting Leeds. QPR pretty much safe, aren't they? It's not mathematically done, but they'll probably will be mathematically done by the end of the weekend, even if they lose this game. Leeds, on the other hand, are fighting tooth and nail for one of those promotion spots. It's looking pretty likely now that Leicester are going to get one of them, albeit a Leeds win here would pile on the pressure again onto Leicester ahead of their game on Monday. But it's promotion that is the aim, and they're fighting with Ipswich to get it. So a huge game for Leeds, not so much for QPR. This is a beautiful line for the purposes of higher or lower. I've got a feeling I know what we're all going to do. The line is, the midpoint is 0.95. So higher here is a Leeds win, lower is a draw or a QPR win. Easy as that. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, no surprises here at all. When you consider, just having a look now on the oddschecker site, that Leeds are 8 to 15 best price to win this game. It would be punchy Jack, wouldn't it? Well, yeah, it is skinny, but for the purpose of higher or lower, you'd be taking a risk. Although maybe someone should be diversifying their picks at this stage.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping I would be, but never mind.
Why do you reckon Leeds have got this one in the bag?
Yeah, it is indeed a beautiful line, isn't it? And I can't not back Leeds to win it for what's at stake. As you said, QPR pretty much safe. I watched Leeds in midweek, and it was Monday night, wasn't it? Yeah, and it was a perfect showcase of their attacking ability. A little bit different as far as their defensive plans, but Latte Lutt was impressive.
Yeah, he was pretty impressive,
good, wasn't it? Yeah,
got
2 cracking goals.
Bit of a Van Persie-esque goal for the last one, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, superb. But so it was a fantastic game. But Leeds back to winning ways, which was obviously very important for them to do that. And of course, the general consensus is when you're in that battle with a couple of clubs, go first, set your marker. So they've got the opportunity to do that here at Loftus Road, which will be an amazing atmosphere Friday night. Leeds fans, I think it's one of them great stadiums when you've got a big travelling support, really does make it, and obviously it will be a big travelling support.
You wouldn't know that, would you? You didn't make it, did you, earlier this season when you were going
I did go to Loftus Road. Yeah, I did make it for the league game. I missed the cup game.
Fine.
Yeah. I thought you were going to mock the travelling support.
No, I was going to say you didn't get out of the pub the first time, did you?
Yeah, that was the Carabao Cup.
Yeah, no one cares.
No, it's fine.
I knew Johnny Rowe was going to score a very late winner in that one. So I went to the 2-2 draw. That was more exciting. So yes, but Leeds, Somerville again superb. Another couple of goals, another assist. So 19 and 9 for him now, and he got the only goal in the reverse. The main thing for me here, I think Leeds' best defence. They're also superb in attack. QPR struggle for goals. Only Sheffield Wednesday and Rotherham scored fewer goals, I think, than QPR, and only Rotherham have got a worse home record as well. So I think that all points towards Leeds, with what's at stake here, have enough in the firepower department, and also what is generally a watertight defence, will have enough to get the win in this one. A crucial win.
Dan?
Yeah, it is a crucial win. I think that also does play into the fact that I've gone higher here is just how much it means to Leeds. Like as you mentioned, definitely more than it does to QPR. But Leeds have been, nothing short of awesome away from home. 1 loss in 2024. Pretty good. 2 draws in that time, but still on a decent run away from Ellen Road. QPR, no pushovers, particularly under your guy, the new manager.
Marti Cifuentes.
Exactly. So,
yeah, I mean, you can't call him a new manager anymore. He's been there since October, I think.
That's new enough, isn't it?
Just the gaffer.
Yeah, the gaffer.
Yeah.
True. Fair enough. Not new.
In the modern world, he's coming to the end of his term.
I was actually thinking the other day about how weird it is that we call them permanent managers when they're anything but. Like permanent suggests like, you know, solid, like long-standing, going to be like no sign of change. Management in football is the opposite. I would say they should be called short-term incumbents.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I prefer that.
Thank you.
Maybe we use that going forward. Nothing really more to add. Like, I would have absolutely loved to have the draw on side, but I just think Leeds win, so I couldn't ignore that.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't be backing Leeds 8-15 here. Like, no way. But obviously, I'm not going to sit here and suggest they should be anything bigger than even money. So you have to decide on the Leeds side. Yeah. Like, QPR are genuinely a very good team, and they are really defensively solid. It was quite weird to see the way that the Leeds Borough game played out. Like Leeds' games this season, if they've been open, it's generally been Leeds kind of relentlessly attacking rather than them being particularly end-to-end. So to see the way that Borough were able to hurt Leeds was a bit of a shock, because especially since we've had the Ampadu, Rodon centre-back partnership, they've been very solid. Maybe it was Archie Gray playing midfield, who had an unbelievable game from an attacking standpoint, but maybe that kind of cost them a little bit in the midfield there, but it was a bit strange. And obviously they got very lucky as well with Nonto's goal being, we didn't need any lines to show us that one was offside. But the liner got it wrong. Doesn't matter. Still very happy not to have VAR making those decisions. So, yeah, it's more that I agree with you, where QPR, for all of their good defensive work, are not the most proficient going forward. Leeds generally very solid at the back, and I'm happy to put a line through that last one. So I'd be kind of surprised if QPR got on the score sheet here, in which case you probably back Somerville, Ruter, like one of these guys who's so good to have a moment of magic to be able to.
I thought Bamford had an exceptional game.
Yeah, I thought he was good as well
on Monday night.
No muted celebration in front of his old.
No, it's true.
The old Borough
good
faithful.
to see. Yeah.
And then he laughed about the offside call afterwards, which was amusing.
Yeah, he was in good form, wasn't he? After
he was.
That? Yeah, very chipper.
So yeah, I think just about Leeds. But if this line was 1.05, then I think I'd probably be going lower.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think Leeds by a goal is a very big runner here.
Yeah. I think the one stat I didn't mention was the QPR. We said their struggles in front of goal. They've only scored 3 or more goals once this season. That was at home to Stoke, when Stoke had a player sent off early in the second half, and it was 1-1 at the time. So yeah, they haven't got the goals in them. So I think go toe to toe here with Leeds, and Leeds will have it.
Yes, right. Second game on the card is West Ham against Liverpool. Liverpool looks like their title challenge is probably over after a 2-0 defeat against rivals Everton on Wednesday night. West Ham smarting a bit off the back of their European exit and a disappointing result at the weekend as well. First match goal is the marker we're looking at here. This is the time in the match where the first goal is scored. The midpoint with spread X is 29.5. So if you're going lower here, I think there'll be a goal within the first half an hour, giving away a minute. Higher would be 30 minutes or onwards for the first goal in the game. Are we going higher or lower? 3, 2, 1.
Oh!
Goals!
Yeah.
He's back. Oh, quickly.
I'm back.
We should talk about this.
Yeah.
You decided last week to change your tactics completely, go like lower for all the goals markets. We just did what we normally do and like analyse each game and work it out. What happened?
Well, it didn't work very well for me. No, I think I got 3 out of 8, so yeah,
all right,
below 50%, which is not great, but for you guys, all right.
What do we get?
6 each.
The most upsetting thing about this, right, is that that means I'm still just ahead.
Yeah, you are.
But it should have been 7 to me and 5 to Jack. But there was a referee change.
Yeah, I wasn't happy about that.
Post-show.
Yeah.
And what's weird about this is that you told us off camera that you'd already had a decent go at this market. Are you booking referees?
I can't tell you.
Are you PGMOL?
Me and Howard.
Yeah, interesting.
Uncle Webby.
Get you on mic'd up. Okay, fine. I mean, I'm happy to let it ride because I guess if your bet wasn't voided, was it?
No.
Exactly. So we have to go with it. Anyway, first match goal. Why do you think there's going to be an early goal in this one?
Well, Liverpool. I mean, not necessarily early, but Liverpool have conceded first in 22 games here. I don't know why I went for that first because there probably should have been something beforehand, but Liverpool could concede first here. In the last 6 between these two, all of them under this line, 28, 16, 12, 24, 27 and 4. So a couple there, that's 12, 16 and 4. Big winners.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that happens again. West Ham have scored and conceded 16 each, as in scored 16, conceded 16 in the first half an hour, which is quite a sizable amount. Liverpool slightly all over the place yesterday defensively, I thought. Could see that happening again here. So jumble what I've just said into a proper order. I think West Ham could break the deadlock here and get a goal in the first half an hour.
I'm just slightly torn with this because we've seen West Ham against Arsenal and Man City be totally torn apart, and they conceded 6 against Arsenal, they conceded 3 against City. Looking at this, it's in my mind guessing when a goal is going to be scored is kind of your finger in the air stuff. It's more like, do I think there are going to be lots of goals within it? And also Liverpool's recent run of poor form, they're obviously not playing great, but it's born in being really wasteful. Like they're racking up a lot of shots, a lot of big chances, high XG in these games, just not putting the ball in the back of the net, and eventually that is going to recover. But it's West Ham and it's David Moyes, and I've watched enough of West Ham under David Moyes against these clubs to know exactly how they're going to set up, and they're going to set up as they always do against the best teams in the league, and they're going to set up with 2 banks of 5, and they're going to look to frustrate early on, and it won't be until they're behind that they come out at all. And if that's the case, then I think even if there are goals in this game, they'll probably come later. So even though I normally find it awkward to work out, apart from things like Spurs, who we know come out of the box very quickly, for like West Ham, their personality early in games, in these kind of games, is to try and keep it tight, and therefore, they'll try and make sure it's 0-0 after half an hour. Whether they can manage it or not, we'll see. But Liverpool clearly having a bit of an identity crisis at the moment.
I've got a stat which is a surprising one. It's going to actually support that argument.
Thank you very much. You sound surprised.
I'm surprised at the stat.
And it's going to support my argument.
No.
Good.
I'm not surprised by that at all.
Fine.
We're on the same page here.
Great.
First question, though, is who is the interviewer on the TV game for this? Do we know who that's going to be? Because I just want to wish them the very best of luck.
Yeah.
After a exit from Europe, Merseyside derby defeat, and an early Saturday kickoff, lunchtime kickoff after playing on Wednesday night. I don't think Jurgen's going to be Mr. Bubbles, is he? No. So good luck on that one. But a couple of reasons for me agreeing on this one. Hammer's fallen off a cliff. There's managerial rumours, there tends to be, doesn't there? As soon as they lose a couple of games, then it's
I like the story being like they've put in an offer to Amorim, but they're still working out if David Moyes are going to be our next Heath. It's like, well, hold on. You can't have both ways here.
Yeah, interesting one, isn't it? Yeah. So David Moyes described that defeat against Palace as embarrassing, said he was embarrassed and that none of his sides have really ever performed that way. I would suspect that having now had a week to prepare for it, it's going to be a very solid process on work some more on defensive processes ahead of this one. And I say Liverpool obviously will try and recover now from that. Probably a bullying, I'd say, against Everton. They were bullied by Dominic Calvert-Lewin, or his new name is Daniel Calvert-Lewin, according to Gary Neville. But the surprising stat that I did refer to is Liverpool's. It's 17 away games this season in the league. 17 games have featured at least one goal. The deadlock's been broken 9 times, and that does include last night's one, in the opening 30 minutes. And average first goal time of 35 minutes, which only is seen higher at Fulham, Man United, which averages 36, and Wolves 37.
Interesting.
Yes, you'd expect the general consensus with Liverpool is that front foot aggressive, getting a goal early kind of side. At home, a bit more so, but away, it's actually not been the case. West Ham's is just under the mark that we need, but so I think given what they're coming into the game on the back of that thumping, that it could well be more of a cautious approach that we expect from West Ham. So higher for me.
Lovely. On to Everton versus Brentford. Everton flying high off the back of that 2-0 victory over Liverpool, hosting a Brentford side who had a good big win last weekend as well. So Everton favourites here. 0.15 they are favourites. So again in the supremacy market, so the amount of goals by which the favourite will beat the underdog by. So higher here is an Everton win. Lower is Brentford or draw. We're going higher or lower. 3, 2, 1. Oh, I'm on my own.
Oh, I'm surprised at Jack.
Hey,
what on earth?
No,
You hate Brentford, don't you?
no problem with Brentford.
Yeah, I just think off the back of Everton's 2-0 win over Liverpool in midweek, that is 3 home games in a row they won 0. Is that enough?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good, isn't it?
It's no surprise. It's no surprise as well that with Everton, they when they had their first point deduction, that triggered a much better run of form. The second one seems to have done the same. You've got a club who are obviously rallying around the perceived injustice of their point deductions in order to try and be safe. I know they're only 2 points behind Brentford right now. A win here would get them above Brentford. It would be huge for their capabilities of staying up. Yeah, obviously they were. I mean, how lucky they were against Nottingham Forest is up for debate. Either pretty lucky, or according to Nottingham Forest officials, the luckiest team of all time not to concede penalties. But I think right now they're basically playing as a better side than Brentford, whose away form the season hasn't been great. So I'm happy to side with Everton. But I'm intrigued to know, Jack, why you guys are so keen on the away team.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Thank you.
I think you're right in that, and that's what you do. I think, fortunate 2-0 win against Forest, and certainly not fortunate against Liverpool. It was a really commanding and impressive performance there at both ends of the pitch, to be fair. I just feel it's been a very emotional week. Merseyside derby, obviously on top of that, furore around that the win against Forest. And I just think that having had all that, it's going to be tough to go again in this one against Brentford. They're kind of all but safe, given the teams below them. And I do think that Brentford were absolutely superb against Luton last weekend. It was a surprise for me. I thought Luton would get something out of that game other than a hammering. And that win probably secured, I say not mathematically, but secured Brentford's Premier League status for another season. And they are a side, as you alluded to at the top of that I was kind of looking to be against for much of the back end of the season. But the Ivan Toney thing, I think, has kind of worked in a weird way, that him being out of the picture has brought them together, similar to Everton being galvanised by the points deduction. It seems that without that mess around Toney, it's brought the others to the front. And I think their front three against Luton were sensational. Yeah. A very fluid front three. And I think, given what effort Everton have put into the last couple of games, especially the one on Wednesday night, that they could well cause a few problems against them, and therefore I think they'll get on the score sheet and can get at least a point out of the game.
Yeah, I really don't have much to add. I just think Everton will be feeling there'll be a lot of pressure off, not all off, but after the win against Liverpool, they're probably thinking they're pretty much safe now. Yeah. So if they are feeling the effects of the Liverpool game and then the Forest, I don't even know what words to describe that
game
situation.
Yeah, fine.
Maybe they will take the foot off the gas here. I'm not sure if Dyche is that kind of manager where he'll accept that, but we never know. And you spoke about the confidence boost that they will have had from those 2 wins, but as you mentioned, Brentford are looking pretty confident too. Unbeaten in 5 now, right. Won their last 2 as well. So it kind of comes back to the age old for me, getting the draw in there as well. I'm desperate for points at the moment, aren't I?
You love goals and draws.
Goals and draws.
Sure.
Yeah, I do.
What about 2 all draws? There must be 3 all draws.
Yeah, mate, I can't think about it because I won't be able to concentrate for the rest of the show.
Must have loved Wrexham 5, Swindon 5 earlier this season.
I'm not a big Wrexham fan.
You're not?
No.
Interesting. Right.
Play them next week.
Rob and Ryan are going to be coming for you now. Yeah. On to total goals now. This is again with Spread X. This is the total amount of goals scored in a game. 2.85 is the midpoint. Same game. Everton hosting Brentford. So higher here is 3 goals or more. Lower is 2 or fewer. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, same again. You happy about this?
I'm very happy, yeah.
Why?
I read on another show that Jack does, and this is why Everton now are actually my least favourite team in the league. They're the only team in the Premier League this season.
We've gone for Wrexham and Everton.
Yeah, twice.
But if you bet under goals every game, you'd be losing. Yeah.
No, profitable.
So yeah. If you bet, sorry, they're the only team if you bet over goals in every game, you'd be losing.
Yeah. So that's horrible. Well, I mean, it does suggest that this comes in lower.
So you immediately go higher here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going higher for any Premier League game this season that is less than 3 goals.
In 2024, Everton's home games have been 0-0, 2-2, 1-1, 1-3, 1-0, 2-0, 2-0. So only 2 games have gone over 2.5. and none have finished. So 2 have been 4, none have finished on 3. This just seems, and also like, it's not quite an end of season, like fun in the sun, we're both safe kind of game yet, quite. Like if it was a week later, then maybe it would be. But a point, in my mind, probably means both teams are safe. So Everton under Dyche, solid defensively, don't score many goals. Yes, I know that Brentford had that crazy game last time out away at Luton, but I'd say it's kind of the exception rather than the rule. Albeit, I mean, they have scored 52 goals this season, which is fairly impressive. And conceded 59, not so impressive. But yeah, I'm happy to play unders here. Jack?
Yeah, I've gone over in a similar vein today, and actually like you could, in essence, this season go blind on any fixture in the Premier League, where if you've got 3 or more and you're winning. But I will try out one of my favourite stats at the moment. You touched on it, the Everton win to 0 stat.
Yeah.
So while we're on subject to goals, so how many times have Everton won at home this season?
6.
Okay. All of those.
I got it right. All of them to 0.
All of them to 0. And how many times did they win away from home last season? At home last season?
To 0.
Well, just win.
Dunno.
I think they won 6.
Yeah.
All to 0.
There you go.
The last time they won at home and conceded a goal was the last day of the season before last.
That's mad.
3-2 against Crystal Palace. So unsustainable, some would say.
Definitely. But then I would. Well, no. I mean, not really. But also, you've said you don't think Everton are going to win this.
Exactly right. I don't think they're going to. I was just throwing a stat because I wanted to.
Which is why there's goals.
My favourite stat.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, but I think Brentford score, and they've scored in 8 of their last 9 away games, including scoring against Arsenal.
1-0. Perfect.
I don't think that will be the case. I think that it will be at least 3 goals. I think Brentford might nick this one 2-1.
So interestingly, just going on your thing, Everton have lost your kind of stats line. Everton have lost 7 games at home this season. 3 of them have been 1-0. They've drawn 4 games at home this season, 1-0 and 2 1-alls. So even when they lose, normally it stays under 2.5.
They're pretty poor at one end of the field and pretty good at the other end, aren't they, Everton? Which would generally give you that aspect to go lower. But I just fancy that given the fatigue element a little bit, Brentford's seemingly getting the workings right at the top end of the pitch. And I think they also can concede as well. I just think that there is a good upside in this, possibly.
It feels like, moving on to the next game, Aston Villa hosting Chelsea. It feels like Aston Villa-Chelsea is a classic 4th v 9th game at this stage of the season, but rather than it being Chelsea in 4th and in the title race, it's Aston Villa, and rather than it being Aston Villa down in 9th, kind of hoping to sneak into any European spots going towards the mid-table, it's Chelsea. So this is the total cumulative minutes that a player scores his goals in. So if Watkins was to score 1 goal in the 20th minute, it would make up 20. If he was to score 2 goals in the 20th minute, and let's say the 40th minute, it would make up 60. The midpoint here with Sporting Index is 26.5. Ollie Watkins scored a lot of goals this season.
Yes.
Against a team that don't keep clean sheets. Yeah.
Okay.
Higher or lower? 3, 2, 1.
Oh,
I don't believe
yes.
No, I need to get differentials.
Pick someone different.
Yeah, this is an obvious one, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But like 26.5, I thought you'd usually shy away at that. Nah.
What do you mean? Mo Salah the other day.
Yeah, true. Oh, I did also want to bring up that I'm going for the hat trick here of player goal minutes. We had Foden, we had Salah.
Cool.
I mean, I think we may all be going for a hat trick, but still, I'm making it all about me.
No, I think you got
Cole Palmer, wasn't it?
Cole Palmer on your own. When it
that's
made
it.
up,
Sorry,
you scored 4. So I think you've used all of your. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say I can't resist because I was expecting both of you to go lower and be kind of throwing abuse at me. But
I like how you've already done your script.
Predicting
that we've already said to you.
Yeah. I mean, like, Ollie Watkins has scored a lot of goals, as you say. He's 1 goal behind Palmer and Haaland, and obviously they're both
20 Premier League goals this season.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot, isn't it? And he has the chance here to get one up on those two. If Palmer's still ill and Haaland's questionable, I mean, I'm sure he's going to be pretty keen to do that. He gets loads of chances. I mean, Chelsea, I don't even have the words to describe like what happened against Arsenal. And Watkins is nailing his XG. So basically what I'm trying to say is he's likely to get chances, and as we've seen this season, he's more than likely to score them. So I am slightly concerned because we've been burnt this season that he could score early doors, and that'll be it. But yeah, as I said, can't resist.
Can't resist. And nor can we.
We can't either.
No.
Why can't you resist?
Why can't I resist? Chelsea defensively are just so poor. I still think there's something very weird going on at Chelsea where I know they lost 5-0 against Arsenal, and as Mauricio Pochettino said, when they're bad, they're very bad. But they also just missed so many chances at 1-0 to get themselves back in the game. And they missed so many chances at 0-0 against City. And if they're clinical, if Nicholas Jackson, my boy, puts a couple of those chances away, then things could look very, very different for them right now. So, I mean, I think this will be a pretty end-to-end game. Villa obviously at home scored a lot of goals. Watkins is their key goal scorer. And if you come into this being confident that Villa consistently, regardless of game state, are going to create chances relentlessly during the game, it doesn't matter what goes on the other end, then Watkins is surely going to be the beneficiary of that. And as you say, there's all to play for as well, both in terms of the top goal scorer market or top goal scorer gong for Watkins, but possibly even the player of the season award, which the more goals he scores, more assists he gets. He's making a late run to be a bit of a wild card pick for that. So, yeah, I think Watkins will score here, and when it comes, we don't know. He'll play 90 minutes. We know that for sure. So, yeah, happy to go higher, rarely in the player goal. You?
Yeah, all the same reasons. Villa on a complete and utter upward trajectory. Brilliant for them to progress through to the semi-finals of the Conference League, of course. They're also fourth and will now need to finish fourth. They're in that box seat for that Champions League place due to the coefficient. And Unai Emery signed a new contract as well. Yes. So it's been a sensational week, 10 days for them. 5 unbeaten at home in all competitions as well. Watkins got 4 goals and 2 assists across that. He has just been sensational for them throughout the season. Yeah. There's been no kind of like downturn for him, I say. And where Villa have been on that upward trajectory, you can certainly say that Chelsea are just that side that are complete and utter roller coaster. Yeah. Agents of chaos, I think we've called them before as well. And you look, they sort of started a sequence of games with a 6-0 win against Everton and ended it with a 5-0 defeat against Arsenal with a cup semi-final loss in between. So it's just a madness. And so I just think they will throw up lots and lots and lots of chances against Villa, and every chance that Watkins will be the beneficiary of that. I think Villa's home record is very comparable to Arsenal, so I couldn't say it's going to be a 5-0, but expect at least a couple of goals for Villa in this one. And so they've scored exactly the same amount as Arsenal at home. I think they've got 3 points less in total, but he scored the only goal in the reverse as well, so one of his goals of this season. So absolutely on board Ollie Watkins here.
Love it.
Ollie Watkins, all going higher for his goal minutes. On to the North London derby here. Spurs hosting Arsenal Sunday, 2 o'clock. Huge game for both teams. Not only bragging rights at stake, but Tottenham will be desperate not only to put a nail in the coffin of Arsenal's title hopes, dependent on what happens with City as well, of course, but also they'll want to finish in they're challenging Villa for that 4th spot, and we don't know what's happening with the extra European spot at this stage. For Arsenal, obviously, the title is at stake, and they want to make sure that their neighbours do not qualify for the Champions League next season. So, going to be an interesting one. This Arsenal are favourites. Looking at the supremacy market with Sporting Index, 0.55 is the midpoint here. So higher is an Arsenal win, lower is Spurs or draw. 3, 2, 1.
All for the Gooners.
Up the Gooners. Yeah, Jack.
Yeah, I couldn't go against him after that performance, especially. What's really impressed me about Arsenal, I think, over the last couple of weeks is that we saw last season when they had a little bit of a bad run of form at the back end of the season, it just fell apart for them. That was certainly on the cards after, say, the couple of defeats they had and exit in the Champions League as well. But bounced back with a solid win against Wolves, but very, very impressive. As much as Chelsea were atrocious defensively, some of the play from Arsenal, and realistically, I know we talked about, and rightly so, that Chelsea missed a couple of chances to kind of get back into the game. Equally, Arsenal missed a load as well, and they could easily won that, or scored certainly 7 or 8 in that game. It was just crazy. Odegaard, I thought, was absolutely sensational watching him play. It was a joy as a neutral to watch that. So, yeah, I just think that Arsenal here have got that momentum. They've obviously got the desire to win this. In great form. Key players performing exceptionally well. Spurs, of course, will have 15 days off between games. So it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic works. The argument would say, they could come into this a little bit cold, or refreshed and revitalised and having had loads of time to plan and prepare for it. But they were terrible against Newcastle that last time out, albeit they're away from home. But I just think injuries could be crucial for this as well. They've got injuries in those wide defensive areas, which we know Arsenal can certainly exploit. Watching them, say, pick through Chelsea in midweek, then I think they've just got too much about them at the moment. Arsenal, I couldn't go against them basically. So yeah, I'm taking the win.
Yeah, I think anyone who watched Wayne Rooney on Sky last night will know that what he said about wanting to come back and play after a big defeat. And I don't think it's ideal for Spurs. They went and got beat 4-0 by Newcastle and had this huge wait in order to put it right. Spurs' home form this season is good, but actually when you look at it, they haven't played City or Arsenal at home yet. They lost 2-1 at home to Aston Villa. And if you take teams in the top half so far this season, they've only won 3 of those games. They beat Liverpool 2-1, they beat United 2-0, they beat Newcastle 4-1. They also lost to West Ham 2-1, and then that ridiculous game against Chelsea where it was 11v9. But again, quite a similar game. Like they're big rivals. Yeah. They lost their heads in that game, and they were playing with 9 men for the majority and got well beaten. So I think Arsenal are a different proposition to most of those, and they bounced back to form in scintillating style against Chelsea and showed that they aren't bottling this, and they do have some kind of clutch in order to get themselves back in the race. So I'm happy here just to side with the better team, especially with Tottenham having shown some fallibility against the better teams in the league at home this season already. Yeah. Dan?
Yeah, to be honest, that's what it comes down to me too. I think Arsenal are better than Tottenham, and so they get the win here. I'm also quite keen to pick up on the point that you said about the defensive absentees for Tottenham. And like you've got Saka and Martinelli and Havertz and Jesus, if you need to rely on him, like they can really stretch the Tottenham back line, much like Newcastle did, and obviously had a lot of success in doing so. So I'm not suggesting it's going to be quite as easy as that for Arsenal, but can see a sort of similar situation there with, Arsenal going down those routes and getting some success. And yeah, I think the break is really, is interesting. Like, basically just going to echo what both of you say. Like, this point of the season, I guess there'll be people that are like, oh, that's probably a good thing to have a little bit of a break, rest up, particularly with Spurs having injuries. But I completely disagree and / agree with you guys that you don't want to be waiting that long to make amends. So, yeah, a long way around of saying I think Arsenal win.
Great stuff. We're going to stick with this game and look at a really interesting market now in the North London derby, which is the bookings market. This is total booking points within the game, 10 points for a yellow, 25 points for a red card. Normally, you're looking kind of 40s, maybe 50s, this market. 62 is the midpoint here with Sporting Index. 60 to sell, 64 to buy. Michael Oliver, never trust a man with 2 first names, is the referee for this one. Are we going higher or lower at 62? This means you need 7 bookings or what? 4 bookings in a red? Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's one of those markets bookings where, the difference between, say, like a 45 and a 62 looks huge, but it's 2 cards. And I think Tottenham Arsenal is consistently one of the, probably the fieriest derby. Like, if you look back at, for example, the Merseyside derby, last night we had 2 bookings in the game. And yes, it was, who was it on? It was Madley on the whistle, who is, one of the, doesn't give very many cards. But there was only 2 last night. And generally, it's not a game where we see loads of card action. Like, this is. Like, there's a history, in recent history, of red cards in this game. We saw it hit 70 this season in, I wouldn't say a particularly feisty North London derby. And given what's at stake, and given the individuals within the game as well, whether it's Basuma, who absolutely loves the card, Ben White, who I think we can probably all agree was like one of the most cynical players when it comes to these kind of games, and a lot of people were backing him to get a card against Chelsea, which copped very late on. There was even in that game, Arsenal-Chelsea, where the rivalry isn't as fierce as this one, it made up 40, and that was in a game that finished 5-0 and was incredibly one-sided, whereas I don't think that'll be the case here. So I know it's high, but given what's at stake, and Michael Oliver on the whistle as well is another one who, he has no, he's quite a good referee booking, I would say, to this, where he isn't particularly card shy. I'm happy to go over, which I know is a bold one, but I don't think it's quite as bold as it necessarily seems, Jack, you're going to fire some stats at me now.
Well, actually, probably not, because the stats would maybe suggest that you're right.
Yeah.
I just think this is a brilliant line set by the traders. Well done, the traders, because I think this is pretty much bang on. I can't see it being very much under. I can't see it being very much over. I think it's somewhere probably between 60 and 80. So I have gone with the side.
So between 60 and 80 means that you're lower. It means you need it to be 60.
I think it probably will be. Yeah, I think it will be. I think there will be 5 or 6 cards in it. So it's one of those that it's a very, very tight one to call.
Yeah.
I've sided with lower. Uncomfortably so, and this is a bit like Dan going lower in a goals bet. I love my bookings, I love my referees and stuff, so it's a tough one. But massive London derby, very, very important. We've talked about the kind of what level this game's at. 19th in the disciplinary table versus 7th, if we're going to use that. But I do generally think that the more stats against Tottenham versus Brighton or against different sides kind of goes out the window here, doesn't it? The old cliche about form going out the window of the derby. I think general stats across the season go out the window to a certain extent. I'd say Michael Oliver's a relatively cool head. He's obviously been around the block a while now, still a relatively young age as a referee, but he just has that cool, calm demeanour about him. 19th in the table as far as his cards are concerned. His booking point average is 44.52, 3 times higher from his 21 Premier League outings this season. Fulham versus Manchester United, Liverpool versus Manchester United, and that game you mentioned, Spurs versus Chelsea, where it went absolutely bonkers. But he was left with no choice. So this comes back to he might well be left with no choice here. Yeah. But it kind of started with the Romero, didn't he? Flung out an arm in that one where he was lucky, or a kick, wasn't it? Where he could have been sent off, let it ride. Then the tackle in the box, which he gave, and then was sent to the VR screen and had to finally give the red card. And then Udogie as well. So there's lots going on in that one, certainly. But I'm uncomfortably going lower in this one. He has taken this game on 4 occasions before. 2021, 65 points. 2020, 80 points. 2017, 40 points. And 2016, 75 points. So, if you are to go by the stats, say it's right on that line.
Probably just a bit higher.
But I am going to go... Given with all the furore at the minute, I think he's going to want to try and keep a lid on it and then not want to make things too crazy. So, and obviously Arsenal could go and be 4-0 up at half time.
And the other thing to mention as well is it does feel ripe for if it's going badly for one of the two sides for them just to act out, basically. Like end of the season, if Arsenal are behind it 2-0 down and they basically know that their season's coming to an end against one of their rivals, it's not hard to see. It was like...
Liverpool last night did a similar thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And did you also see... AC Milan, Inter Milan, where AC realise our biggest rivals are out to beat us and win the league at the same time here. Yeah. Okay, 2 reds, and they got a red card as well. 3 reds in it.
3 reds in,
Carnage.
Yeah, Dan.
You mentioned Oliver's previous with these 2 teams, but I've looked just without a specific referee in mind, and the average in the last 5 is 58 between these 2, so that does side with us. And to be honest, I think it probably will stick to that average. Like as you said, I think getting 60 on side is actually such a big thing here because there is like so much chance that there is 6 yellows.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping there isn't a red because I haven't really factored that into my point. And Michael Oliver has given 5, the most of any refs this season, but we've already talked about. One big thing for me here, and I think this is actually has quite a lot of weight in me going lower, is Udogie being out.
Yeah. Right.
That feels like a booking saved.
It's minus 10 start.
Yeah, it feels like it's a minus 10 start. So, yeah. I don't know if Michael Oliver being selected for the Euros as well this week plays into it at all. No.
If it does, then he's a terrible professional.
I'm not questioning anyone's integrity.
Like
but something
he's a Newcastle
to consider.
fan.
Yeah. Oh, thank God he's not a Luton fan,
Finally, Nottingham Forest. Let's not talk about referee appointment. Hosting Manchester City. Headed goal minutes we've gone for here.
Yeah.
Interesting. 27.5 is the midpoint with Sporting Index. This is the total amount of headed goal minutes in the game, accumulative. Does exactly as it says on the tin. You're going higher or lower? 3, 2, 1.
Whoa.
Easy one.
What are you putting this in for?
I just thought we're getting to the end of the season. Chuck something new in there.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we do total goal minutes all the time.
Yeah.
We do total goals all the time.
Yeah.
I thought...
Chris Wood.
Exactly. The opportunity to use the league's best headed goal scorer.
What do you mean to go higher?
No, I just because basically my rationale here is that I feel like this is basically just Chris Wood's goal minutes.
Fine.
And I don't want to be on the high side of that.
Perfect.
Which again goes away from what my usual tactics, but yeah, he scored more than anyone else in the league with 5. But yeah, I wouldn't be backing him to score, and for it to have to be a header, although a lot of his are. Yeah, I'm staying well clear.
Jack?
Yeah, try and work out what the game is, try and work out how you're going to play it out. I'd see City win it, possibly low scoring, given the volume of games they're playing at the moment. How are they going to score the goals? It's rare for them to toss one into the box for Big Erland to stick one in. Saying that, it has happened a couple of times in these games recently. But you're right, yeah, Chris Wood, 5 headers, 34 games for us to play this season, 11 headed goals from their 42. Wood with 5 of them, 6 players with 1. City, 32 games, 8 headed goals from their 76. So obviously a very small percentage there. Haaland with 3 of those. Is he going to be available? We don't know. Obviously, if he's not playing, that would even give a better advantage. Ake, who's been on the bench recently, got 2 headed goals this season. And then Alvarez, Akanji and Foden. Can't even remember that one. But
no.
Yeah, interested. So reverse, 2-0, Foden left foot, Haaland header.
Nice.
Ooh, okay.
Last season, 1-1 here. Bernardo left foot, Wood left foot. 6-0 at the Etihad. Haaland left foot and right foot and a header.
Oh, God.
Cancelo not playing, irrelevant. Right foot, outside the box. And Alvarez, right foot and left foot.
Header?
First half.
There you go. Yeah, I think whenever City's playing, I probably want to be on the low side for headed goal minutes, although it is probably the opposition's best means of attack. They just aren't a team. I mean, when Haaland is there, obviously they do look to get balls into him, but it's not always onto his head, and it's not really their key way of playing, I wouldn't necessarily say. So yeah, happy to go lower. There we go.
Done.
That's the end of that show. Yep. Thank you guys very much for watching this week's episode of Higher or Lower, brought to you by oddschecker, SpreadX and Sporting Index. If you haven't got a SpreadX or a Sporting Index account, there is a new customer offer. You can find details in the link below in the description. T's and C's do apply, and do remember that losses can exceed your initial deposit with spread betting. Check out oddschecker for all of your fixed odds betting needs ahead of the weekend across all sports, and WhoScored have you covered for all of the stats to inform your selections. Thanks to Jack.
Thank you.
Thanks to Dan. We'll be back again next week ahead of the Championship final day. Maybe for some playoff action.
Maybe. Not for me. Not for Reading.
Maybe for me.
Maybe for you.
We'll have to wait and see. We'll hang on Saturday. But yeah, have a great weekend. Oh, not for you yet. You've got another week.
Oh.
Unbelievable. Have a great weekend. Enjoy all the football, and we'll see you again next week. And please do ensure that you gamble responsibly.